Good morning. Good morning. There we go. Welcome to worship with the community of the First Unitarian Church of Omaha. I'm the Reverend Shari Woodbury, the church's settled minister. I'm glad you have chosen to join us this morning, whether you are here in the sanctuary or online. Worship means to remember that which is of worth. And so we gather each week in community to be called back to our highest values. A special welcome to visitors. This congregation is a community of all ages and abilities. It is a community with a rainbow of gender and sexual identities. It is a community of diverse cultural and class backgrounds. We draw from many sources of inspiration and share common liberal religious values. Whoever you may be, we welcome you to bring your whole self into this community. If you are joining us online, I encourage you to create a YouTube account and sign in when you attend that way. And this will allow you to participate in the comments for joys and concerns. You can also subscribe to our channel and share videos you like with others. For those joining in person, you are invited to go downstairs to the common room after the service where coffee and conversation await. Meanwhile, if you are logged into church Wi-Fi on a phone or another device, and you don't need to be on Wi-Fi, please put your device on airplane mode during the service. I have a few announcements. Our music task force is holding small group forums. Last month, they sponsored an online First U Church music survey asking varied questions about our music program. We got 89 responses from the congregation. Appreciate everyone who took the time to respond that way. Adding to the survey results, small focus groups will be asking several open-ended questions about our music program, and one of them is today. It will be from 11:50 to 12:50 in the Merritt Lounge, which is down the hall here in the corner with the nice couches. If you are interested in participating in that, there are 5 slots still open, and you can let Barb Herring know, or just show up there at 11:50 for input on our music program. Second, CUPS, our pagan chapter, is observing Beltane tonight. That'll be at 7 p.m. in the common room. Beltane is the Gaelic May Day festival, and they'll be celebrating this auspicious festival with a ritual and sharing cakes and ale afterwards, and no RSVP is necessary. So if that piques your interest, 7 p.m. in the common room tonight. Third, we have our annual congregational meeting coming up. The 154th meeting of the church congregation will take place both in person and on Zoom for those joining online on Sunday, May 21st at 10:30. It'll take the place of our regular worship service. We encourage your participation if you are an eligible voting member of the church to vote on things like adopting the operating budget for the next church year, voting for our president-elect and members of the board, trustees of our trust fund endowment, our Right Relations Committee, and nominating committee. We also give out awards to celebrate volunteers, and it's a wonderful time to show appreciation for everyone who helps make our mission happen. And lastly, if you missed it last week or just want a second look, Bob Bosco's art show is still going on in the Common Room. He has a number of ecological drawings to celebrate Earth Day this spring, and he has actually provided some additional information about that that's really interesting about Nebraska and our natural heritage. So you can check that out at coffee hour if you like. To find out what else is going on this week, you can use the QR code or the links in your program, or grab printed e-news in the foyer on your way out. Lastly, I want to acknowledge that the First Unitarian Church of Omaha occupies the traditional treaty lands of the Omaha and Oto-Missouri tribal nations, whose sovereignty existed long before the state of Nebraska. We'd also like to express our respect to other Nebraska tribes, including the Ponca tribe, the Winnebago tribe, and the Santee Sioux tribe, as well as over 170 other tribes represented within the Omaha area. And as we begin worship today, the Offbeats are going to come up to share a special prelude, and I want to say a thank you to all of the members of our contemporary music group. It was kind of rebuilding this year after the pandemic, and they've gifted us with many wonderful selections this year. This will be their last time sharing with the congregation before the summer break. So thank you to Offbeats members and to Judy Unger. This morning, Jay Sauer and Cheyenne Spooner will light the flaming chalice. The chalice lighting words can be found in your order of service or inside the front cover of the gray hymnal. Will you join me? Spark of the Spirit, cupped in earth's embrace, light of love, alive in all creation. As we kindle this flame, we rekindle our connection to the sacred web of life. Thank you. you haven't looked out the windows yet, you might notice the beautiful flowers. It is not by chance that you arrived here today. You have been looking for something larger than yourself.
Inside of you, there is a yearning, a calling, a hope for more, a desire for a place of belonging and caring.
Through your struggles, someone nurtured you into being, instilling a belief in a shared purpose, a common yet precious resource that belongs to all of us when we share.
And so you began seeking a beloved community.
A people that does not put fences around love.
A community that holds its arms open to possibilities of love.
A heart home to nourish your soul and share your gifts. Welcome
home.
Welcome to worship. Our opening hymn is number 1, May Nothing Evil Cross This Door. You can rise if that feels good to you and join in the singing. Thanks, Linda. Okay, the children may come forward. For our time for all ages, kids can come forward. Dan and Lynn and their puppet friends have a story for you today.
Which side do I sit on?
You're on the right.
Have you ever seen one of these before? I have. Yeah.
Is that okay?
What?
I think that's okay.
I can't move it. Can you move it over?
Good morning, children. Today in our service, the adults are going to be talking about change. You have a seat. They're going to talk about how important things change over time and how the most important things stay the same when everything around them changes. Then they're going to talk about how our church is changing and how what is most important about our church is going to stay the same.
When I was thinking about things that changed this week, I started to think about technology. technology is something that I've seen change over even my lifetime. And I had a question. Have you seen any technology change? Do you listen to music on one of these? Well, I have noticed it changing, and so this week I decided to go on an archaeological dig. Yeah. Oh, I lost my hat. So this week I decided that I would go on an archaeological dig, and I was going around the church and I was looking for some cool fossils, some technology fossils. Would you like to see some of them? Oh, I hope so.
Sure, I want to see them.
This says Sleeping Beauty. I hope you're not going to go to sleep. Okay.
What is that?
It's a cassette tape. It's used to record and play music and other sounds. No.
It doesn't taste good, and I don't hear anything.
Well, it used to that you put it in this great big boom box, and then you hit play. Stopped.
That looks a little big to go jogging with.
Yes.
Does it boom when it's expired? Does it explode?
No, it doesn't, because I've had it since the ancient 80s. It's a boom box because the music played really loud.
Boom, 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 boom.
Okay, let's see what other things that I found.
That looks a little big to go jogging with.
Well, it goes in the machine, it played music, and I don't think anybody went jogging with that.
No.
Downloading the song. Now, to download a song, you download it on your phone. Or you could have put it on a Walkman, but we don't even do that anymore. Okay, Dino.
So you have another fossil, a floppy disk?
A floppy disk. Well, this one isn't really floppy.
Hey,
That's a really ancient word, but this,
can I ask a question?
in just a minute, okay? Let me show you this floppy disk. It's not floppy, its old version was floppy. Would you like to see that, Dino Dan?
Ooh, what does the floppy disk do? Can we eat them?
No, you can't eat them. It used to store flies. No, not flies. It used to store files. That means it stored pictures or videos or important records about your family, things like that. Back in the ancient 80s, there were some actually that were floppy, but we couldn't find one. You want to try that one?
Floppy disk is not floppy.
Because it kept that name.
If it's not floppy, then
Now we don't need a floppy disk. We have technology where all you have to do is push a button.
Well, that wouldn't fit in my USB drive, and it certainly doesn't taste like chicken.
Back in the olden days, with these digital fossils, you used to sit at a computer, insert the floppy disk. You could type and type and type for hours. Type some more, and if you forgot to push the button, poof, everything disappeared.
Wow, these are some excellent fossils, but what do you mean about the important things stay the same?
Well, first we had the cassette, like this, and then we had a CD, and then we had MP3 players and our phones, and all these technologies changed, But what stayed the same? This is Christmas carols. What stayed the same? What did you hear from that boombox?
I want to say something.
What?
It's that I have he and my dad have a record.
And that's really ancient technology.
It has a little thing with a diamond and like goes.
You know what? Records and vinyl are coming back. This is a technology that is going to be used again in a different way.
And you might even have movies on those things.
Oh, that's right. Do you know what? My daughters lived for these. VHS tape. Do you know you would put this in a machine under your television
I know.
and this would play a movie?
There's a horror game with those called The Man of the Avenger.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, now look at this movie. Maybe you had a movie like this. This is not the horror of the Avengers. This is How to Train Your Dragon, but I thought the dino would like that. This was a movie too. And now, what do you do to watch a movie?
Let's go on Netflix.
Go on Netflix. Perfect. In a minute, okay? Yes, you want to hold it for me and go back to your space and we'll finish our story.
Does he like that?
Yes, he does. You can pat him after we're done, okay? All right, so we play music on one, we play movies on another, on the floppy disk. We can even put things on, what's this? Does anybody know? What? What is it?
USB hard.
A hard drive, that's right. So we got data from that. We got important things we wanted to save. That's what stayed the same when everything changed. Go for it.
Unitarian Universalism, we've been using the 7 principles as our technology ever since 1985. That was a long time ago.
That's when the floppy disks were out.
And now we have new technology, 7 new values. They are pluralism,
Ooh,
interdependence.
wait, these are important. Listen to Dinosaur Dan.
Okay, so our 7 new values are pluralism, interdependence, equity, transformation, justice, generosity, and now right in the center is love.
Whoa, can you do this? Can you make love with your hands? Make that heart. There you go. I don't think Rocky Raccoon and I can do that. Cool. I like that. So,
And
now it's up to us to figure out what to do with this new Unitarian Universalist technology. These new values are going to be the way we might decide to live our faith in the UU world.
there's a lot to think about here, and we know that change is hard, but if you don't change, you'll be a dinosaur.
Oh, like you.
Yes, it can be uncomfortable, and like any time we learn new technology, it can take a little while to adjust. But we know that as long as we love one another, and we can challenge and change again and again, and in the faith we have, most will stay just the same.
Well, thank you for going on the archaeological dig with us and learning new things about technology. And in your lives, I bet you find new technology in lots of ways, and it will make your lives easier, maybe more fun, certainly more interesting. And now, boys and girls, have fun in your classes. Yes, you can give him a scratch.
Goodbye, and watch out for dinosaurs.
Woo! Did you have a question?
You're supposed to be dead, dinosaur.
Well, he's a fossil. He's a technological fossil. Yes, you may,
Later on, okay?
but go back in your space, okay?
Okay, guys, off to your classes now.
Thank you for coming on our dig. Now the adults can do some thinking.
Number 1058 in the teal hymnal to sing them out. Wonderful to have so many children with us this morning. Dave Richardson joins us up here to share a beloved community moment.
Thanks, Reverend Shari. The Beloved Community team is very pleased to share with everyone what we've been doing lately and what we hope the future holds. We are especially happy to be doing this on this concluding Sunday of the spring sermon series, Our Living Tradition. Today's sermon, Love Will Guide Us, is a particularly good theme for our upcoming efforts, both as a team and as a congregation. As we stand on the cusp of our next phase, the team will hope to explore the next turn in the continued evolution of Unitarian Universalism. We're just at the beginning of this beloved community project. We have a lot to learn and a lot to do. It's an ongoing effort. Mistakes may be made, but it's worth it. When this group was formed, we were called the Eighth Principle Team. Upon assessing the input from the breakout groups at our mid-year congregational meeting, we thought more focus should be on establishing, defining, and practicing on becoming the beloved community, thus the reason for the name change. Thus far, we've focused on three areas. First, how we can learn from what other area UU churches have done thus far in pursuing the changes evolving in UUism. Secondly, how we can help guiding our own congregation's understanding of those evolutionary changes. We hope we can help with the ideas and terms such as those being presented today. Third, what role should we play in advising regarding our church's votes at the UUA General Assembly on these matters? In pursuit of the first objective, on April 8th, we participated along with Second Unitarian and Lincoln Unitarian in a field trip to Omaha. We visited two important sites. The first was the display at the Durham Museum of photographs from the town of DeWitt, Nebraska, which was formed at the end of the Civil War by former slaves. Our tour guide was a descendant of the founders of DeWitt. Second location we visited was the Malcolm X Museum, which is built on the site of his birthplace. We heard a powerful presentation by Shamika Simpson, the director of the museum. The topic was, of course, the life and impact of the work of this most important native-born Omahan. The concluding activity was a gathering at Second Unitarian of 30 people from all three congregations who came together to explore ideas related to building the beloved community. Folks participating on April 8th seemed to enjoy engaging with new faces. For purposes of this discussion, we use the following definition of beloved community. Beloved community happens when people of diverse racial, ethnic, educational, class, gender, abilities, sexual orientation, backgrounds, and identities come together in an interdependent relationship of love, mutual respect, and care that seeks to realize justice within the community and in the broader world. Second objective has been a consistent topic at our beloved community gatherings. Our next meeting is May 6th, and it'll be a Zoom meeting. We will generate ideas for specific activities, including but not limited to a town hall type gathering, more field trips, and other consciousness-raising activities. Catherine Plumley has agreed to bring to our May 6th meeting a plan for a consensus workshop on what to prioritize, followed by an action planning workshop. If others are interested in joining our team, let any of the members know. Third objective will involve coordinating our advisory efforts with the MTC and the Board of Trustees regarding specific proposals which will be discussed at the General Assembly in June. We feel that we need to realize that we're not losing power, but we're changing how we perceive power. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave, and the beloved community team, and several others from that team who are joining me in some of our worship elements today. Each week, we share our blessings with others through a community offering. Half of the loose currency in the offering plate goes to a local cause which resonates with UU values. If you're online or prefer to give with your smartphone, you can use the QR code or link provided. For April, our Share the Plate recipient is the meal prep team here at First U for Youth Emergency Services, YES. Each month, church member Kim Callahan and her team prepare a meal in the church kitchen and then deliver that meal to YES, which is a shelter for youth in the Omaha area. You can learn more about YES at yesomaha.org.
And we would like to do a tribute song to a person we lost this week, very important activist, civil rights activist, and just great humanitarian musician, actor Harry Belafonte.
We come to the time for sharing of joys and concerns. When we share our joys, others get to experience some of that joy too. And when we share what challenges we are facing, others can offer their care. I want to lift up again thanks to the Offbeats and to their director, Judy Unger, this year for all the wonderful contemporary music that we have experienced as a big joy. I also want to mention before I forget, if you're in the sanctuary, did you get a bingo card on the way in? Okay, if you didn't, you can raise your hand and one of our friendly helpers at the back will bring it to you. Looks like everybody got one. Okay, and don't worry if you're online, there'll be one for you too. Let's see. We are formally welcoming Daryl Hansen as a first UU member today. Melissa and I stood with him as he signed the book just before the service. Welcome officially, Daryl. On a sadder note, Diana Bird lost her foster mom on April 18th. The memorial arrangements were private. Donations can be made in her memory. Her name was Lillian Cuff, to Emmanuel Village's Scholarship Fund. And we'll have the address in the Joys and Concerns e-blast if you would like to do that. Or, of course, you might send a card to Diana. Side with Love team member Dave Richardson lifted up a big joy from this past week. He writes, "Congratulations and a large thank you upon the defeat of the abortion ban bill LB 626. The victory reaffirms a woman's or person's reproductive rights. It also reinforces the right of conscience and human dignity. Many thanks to, I know there were so many of you out here and out there and beyond who called senators, who showed up with me and Side with Love team members at the Capitol and took various other actions. Of course, we're only some of many, many people who did that activity, but it made a difference. And it feels good that we did something really positive. So thank you for everyone who took a little energy and took a chance and took some action. Dave also wanted to thank our leadership, our board of directors, for their efforts to formally establish the church's position with the vote that the congregation took on this issue last fall. So thank you, board leaders. Do we have anything online, Colin? No? Okay. Well, with these joys and sorrows held in the care of this community, I invite you to join me in a centering song, number 391, Voice Still and Small. And if you know it well, you might even choose to close your eyes as you sing. Number 391. As we turn to contemplation, you may wish to rest your eyes, sit comfortably, and turn inward. I'll begin with a pastoral prayer, and then we will observe a time of silence for your own private reflection. I'll end the silence with the sound of the bell. But first, I share these quiet words of Elaine Kizia. May my wisest self guide me through this day. May she or he or they remind me to look through eyes of wonder and see the abundant beauty of here and now. To live from my toes up, grounded on this precious earth and in this miraculous body. To open my heart, flinging wide its shutters so no defenses cut me off. To employ my hands to create beauty, to soothe suffering, and to unlock potentials. Eyes, feet, heart, hands. From here, I can wake to my life and the gift that it is. From here, I can move through my day with simple ease. From here, I can spread compassion and love. From here, I can mend the world. May I be in harmony today with the current that flows through all, and may I be a faithful expression of this sacred source. Here I am. Amen. The trees are serenading our senses with flowers. Again, if you haven't glanced out the window, you might like to do that. Ambling through a neighborhood or a park, one can see them, smell them, even touch their soft petals. Waxy pink or white magnolias, snowy Bradford pear, pink apple or cherry blossoms, red buds, which should have been named lavender buds to my eye, lilacs, and all of the other favorites. Each in its own way is a gorgeous harbinger of spring. Our Unitarian Universalist tradition is now offering a new flower for a new season, too. A 6-petaled flower with love at its yellow chalice center. This is represented in the logo for our spring worship series by the flowers that grow atop the dynamic living chalice, as you can see on the front of your order of service and the image created by Sandy Bruns. But before we inspect this bright new blossom more closely, let's trace the path we've taken so far in this spring worship series on our living tradition. We started on Easter with a nod to the roots of Unitarianism and Universalism in the Jesus tradition. Our tradition has much in common with Christian communities of the first millennium who focused on living as Jesus lived and creating an Eden on earth where all people might flourish. On the second Sunday of the series, we turn to that which puts the life in this living tradition, the people who take part in it today, as we celebrated membership anniversaries and heard from several folks about the meaning of membership in this church. Last Sunday, the third service in the series, found us pondering what stays the same even as our living tradition evolves. I lifted up 4 threads that I see as the through lines. The first thread, going back to the Cambridge Platform of 1648 and the Puritans, from whom the Unitarians later emerged, is that we are a people of covenant. Ours are self-governing churches that support each other and that lean into right relationship as a spiritual practice. The second thread is that ours is a this-worldly tradition, focused on the here and now. The cultural DNA of our tradition includes both the Unitarians' historical emphasis on self-culture, or ongoing moral and spiritual development of the individual, and the Universalist commitment to putting our values into action to create a better world for everyone. A third thread is the tension between individualism and the common good, which has been with us at least since the merger of the Unitarians and the Universalists. We can be conscientious about balancing our values for individual self-expression and the health of the community. And the fourth and final thread we considered last week is how our tradition is designed to evolve. It is not meant to be static, frozen in time or in some previous cultural expression. We're not going to still use the floppy disks or the VHS tapes. Rather, just as L.B. Fisher once described Universalists, the UU tradition is one that is meant to grow and evolve, as all living things forever must do. These abiding features of Unitarian Universalism will not fade away, but we might weave those 4 threads a new pattern for each era. And when I say that our living tradition is designed to evolve, I mean that in the most practical nuts and bolts of ways. It's built into the bylaws of the Unitarian Universalist Association, or UUA, our national body, that every 15 years, UUs will consider changes to the section of the bylaws in which we express our core values. That section is known as Article 2. So if you've been hearing some talk about Article 2, that's why we're discussing it. An Article 2 commission was formed a couple of years ago and charged with guiding the process of revising this defining document. Though the material has been revisited every 15 years since the Unitarians and Universalists merged in 1961, there has only been a major overhaul once in the mid-'80s. Again, going back to the age of floppy disks. The current commission was asked to be ready for a significant makeover once again. The UUA board charged them with reimagining the whole section of the UUA bylaws in which we explain who we are. Specifically, they were asked to help Unitarian Universalism, quote, to be a relevant and powerful force for spiritual and moral growth, healing, and justice for the dawning era. Further, at last year's National General Assembly, delegates from UUA congregations around the country, including ours, passed a resolution giving the Article 2 Commission a particular directive in their work. To make sure that the spirit of the recent eighth principle, which expresses our commitment to building a diverse, multicultural, beloved community, that spirit of the eighth principle is infused throughout the new Article 2 proposal. Are you with me? Okay. Now, if legal language makes your eyes glaze over, I understand. Please know that this Article 2 business is much more lively and interesting than it would sound from the title. One of the members of our beloved community team will now help explain what this section of the bylaws of our National Association does for Unitarian Universalism. Linda Parker will help share this perspective with you.
Article 2 of the UUA bylaws currently includes the 7 principles and 6 sources of Unitarian Universalism. The Article 2 Commission described the functions of Article 2 in its report in a section sharing its approach to its work. In the Commission's own words,
the main functions of this article in our bylaws are legal and organizational. It defines who we are in a legal sense and sets up the parameters of the Unitarian Universalist Association as an organization.
In the first phase of our review process, the Commission continues. It became clear to us that in addition to these main functions, which are required of any bylaws, there were many other functions that Unitarian Universalists expected Article 2 to fulfill. These include
theological,
which helps us articulate our shared values and theology;
social,
which serves as a shared cultural touchstone;
educational,
which lists concepts to teach and sources to draw from;
personal,
which serves as a personal code of ethics;
evangelical,
which is a way to explain to others who we are and draw their interest;
and rhetorical,
which is used in public situations to define our beliefs or morality in legal or political context. This is a different set of functions than many organizations expect from their bylaws. We suspect that because we do not have a creed or a confession of faith, which other religions will rely on to fill these roles, these functions have fallen to Article 2 as the closest analogy. That's because Article 2 is a shared agreement between congregations, and we have a congregational polity.
Okay, so that's a lot of important work being done by a section of the bylaws in Article 2. After many iterations of input from various stakeholder groups, the Article 2 Commission released its proposal for the new version in January, just a few months ago. Another member of our beloved community team, Dave Richardson, will join me to share with you the values and the covenant section. And as he comes up, I draw your attention to the UU Heritage Bingo card. So get out your bingo card if you want to play along. If you're online, you should find in the live chat a link to an online version of this bingo card. If you want to play, listen carefully, watch your card, and when you hear us say one of the words or phrases that's on your card, exit out or mark it however you want to mark it. You click if you're online. Everyone can start by marking the free middle space, which is love. Love is at the center. And you can continue to mark things as we go through the covenant values. If you get bingo, which is 5 in a row, vertically, horizontally, or diagonally, don't call it out in the sanctuary, but you can hold up your card if you feel so moved. If you're online, you can write it in the chat to let us know. Okay, you ready? The covenant goes like so. As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant, congregation to congregation, and through our association, to support and assist one another in our ministries. We draw from our heritages of freedom, reason, hope, and courage, building on the foundation of love.
Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love.
Okay, I'm going to invite you to pause from your bingo cards for a moment, and if you haven't already, look at the flower on the back of your order of service. It depicts 6 shared values that encircle this center of love. And the values are described by the Commission as inseparable from one another, just as a flower is incomplete without each of its petals. You might want to have your bingo card in your hand again.
Okay. Reverend Shari and I will share with you how each of these values has been described in the proposed revisions. You'll hear much that is familiar and perhaps dear.
Interdependence.
We honor the interdependent web of all existence.
We covenant to cherish Earth and all beings by creating and nurturing relationships of care and respect.
With humility and reverence, we acknowledge our place in the great web of life, and we work to repair harm and damaged relationships.
Pluralism.
We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology.
We covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning.
We embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect.
Justice.
We work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all thrive.
We covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression.
We support the use of inclusive democratic processes to make decisions.
Transformation.
We adapt to the changing world.
We covenant to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically.
Openness to change is fundamental to our Unitarian and Universalist heritages, never complete and never perfect.
Generosity.
We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope.
We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources.
Our generosity connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality.
Equity.
We declare that every person has the right to flourish with inherent dignity and worthiness.
We covenant to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities.
These are the new values proposed.
Interdependence, pluralism, and justice.
Transformation, generosity, and equity.
And in the center of them all is love.
Okay, hold up your card if you got bingo. Hey.
All right, thanks for playing along, everyone. Looks like we're not losing the old 7 principles if this passes, so much as we're simply finding expression for them in new ways in this proposal.
The Commission's proposal also includes sections on the UUA's purposes, sources of inspiration, inclusion, and freedom of belief.
A link to the complete report of the Commission will be included in the Joys and Concerns e-blast, or you can find it online with your search engine. I also actually have one copy downstairs in the common room. We will include as well information about the process for amending the proposal. At this time, I invite you to turn to someone near you, or if you're off by yourself, you can scooch over and find a buddy. If you prefer private reflection, maybe you're home by yourself, you might journal instead. And we'll take a few minutes to discuss or ponder your initial thoughts and feelings about being part of a living tradition and the specific proposed revisions we've heard for Article 2. Talk amongst yourselves. Thanks, Dave. Okay. Okay.
Just raise it up there a little bit. Is that a good height for you?
Yeah.
Yep. Take it up here.
Thank you. Clap once if you can hear me. Clap twice if you can hear me. Okay, works for kindergarten teachers. So there's a lot to think about here. The good thing is we're not in a hurry. We've got a couple years of General Assemblies that are going to vote on this. There is an amendment process. We have time as a congregation to figure out if we want to instruct, if you want to instruct your delegates to vote in a particular way. But I'm glad that we're all engaging in this and being a part of the process. Another member of our beloved community team, Catherine Plumley, will lead us in a responsive reading. The congregational response, which is in your order of service, is, "Let us hold love at the center." So she'll gesture. I'll stand next to her and gesture when you do that, and you can practice it once before you begin.
All right, let's give this a practice. Wonderful. Spirit of life and love, holy mystery, may we hear the voices of the past mingled with the voices of today, guiding us into the future, into our own becoming, with purpose and principle toward liberation for all people, with love as our common calling. Let us hold love at the center. May we continue to cherish the earth with humility and reverence, honoring our place in the interdependent web. Let us hold love at the center. May we celebrate all sacred beings, diverse in culture and theology, learning from one another and embracing difference in our search for truth and meaning. Let us hold love at the center. May we keep reaching for belovedness, for diverse multicultural community, for the collective thriving of all people, where all voices are heard, as we work to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. May we welcome transformation, seeking spiritual growth, adapting to our changing world, evolving in this living tradition, never complete, never perfect. May we cultivate a spirit of generosity, of gratitude and hope, freely and compassionately sharing our faith, our presence, our resources, centering connection and relationships of mutuality. May we always declare that every person has the right to flourish with inherent worth and dignity. May we recommit to one another with our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. Let us hold love at the center. Let us keep love at the center now and always. Amen.
Before we sing our closing hymn, I remind you that if you'd like to give input about our music program, you can join folks in the lounge down the hall at 11:50. I invite you to rise if you like and join in our closing hymn, number 131, Love Will Guide Us. You may be seated. Let us hold love at the center as we participate faithfully in our living tradition. May it be so. Amen.
Or clap, or whatever, or sing along. Okay, go ahead, Lord.
Human heart knows how.
Well done.